Prostitution is not a job. Oh. Well, this is the English translation of what became one of Nigeria and Africa's most watched movies in the mid-90s. The movie does shed light on the lives of 4 prostitutes and their misadventures in the big cities. It starred ANN NJEMANZE, who played the title Domitila. It's herself, of course, that's the name of the movie, alongside Sandra Achums, Kate Henshaw, the late Ada Ameh, Ejiro Benjamin, and just to mention a few. The movie was directed by Zeb Ejiro and went on to become a blockbuster, one of the most rented movies off the shelves. And that was back at the time when we used to go rent movies physically. But today, the movie reprises its role in the cinemas in April and is set to retell the true stories of the African girl child and how prostitution has affected many lives. We're looking into this, and joining me this morning on Breakfast Central is one of the talents you'll find on this movie. We have a thespian, producer, and one who has skilled and worked on her craft as an actor. I'm talking of none other than Elvina Ibru. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you. And great job you're doing here. You're retelling a story that was told about 27 years ago. How does it feel to be retelling that?
I can't even begin to tell you how I feel, because, you know, when the remakes of the old great movies started coming out, you know, Rattlesnake and Living in Bondage and so on, I said to myself, or rather I said to God, I said, please God, if they should ever think of doing Domitila, they should just remember me.
Oh, wow.
Honestly, true story. And about a year ago, Mimi, was it up to a year ago? A few months back, Mimi called me from Film One and she said, Elvina, we're doing Domitila with Zeb Ejiro, Uncle Zeb. I was like, what? And she said, we'd like you to be in it. So it's almost like a spiritual experience for me, that it was almost like I was supposed to be in this, because out of all the movies, Domitila was one of my favorites.
Such a full circle moment here, to think that honestly, you actually dreamt and desired, and like they say in 2023, manifested.
Exactly.
What you wanted.
They say, ask for what you want.
Yes.
Just say it. So it's been like, I'm still kind of like, it's been like a haze. And even though I'm 50, these are still people that I was young when I was watching them, even though some of them are my contemporaries like Kate, but I'm still in awe because I was a young person also watching these people, not having joined the Nollywood gang by then. I was, I'm a theater person. So it's just an amazing it's been an amazing journey so far.
Wow. Now we're going to be talking about this movie. We're all going to be seeing this movie. Talk to us about your role and, how easy or difficult it was for you to settle into that character.
Madam V is a very mysterious woman. That's the name of the character. I would say it's always quite relatively easy for me to get into characters because I don't take my characters home.
Right.
I go to set, I become whoever I'm playing, and then I leave the person there and I go home and I'm back to Elvina. But what helps me a lot is I always write a backstory to my characters so that I know where this woman is coming from. I know where she's born. I know why she's even my skin tone or this skin tone. I know why she behaves the way she behaves based on where she's coming from, where she was born, who her parents are, how she was she abused, was she not, So it's always quite easy for me to get into a character once I know the character's story. So if I read it and then I go away and I ask myself, why is this woman the way she is? And then I write the backstory, then it's quite easy for me to just become that person. And then when the director says it's a wrap for the day, I can just throw away the person and go back to my normal self. But Madam V was a lot of fun because Madam V does a lot of stuff that we might all not aspire to do, but you know how you can just get away with stuff when you're bold and you're a villain. And sometimes in real life you want to say something and you say, no, that's not very nice, don't say it. But as a character, you can say what you want and you get away with it, So yeah, Madam V was, I loved her. it's hard for a woman in my age group to be given a role that is so iconic and you can really turn into like somebody people will remember for a long time to come. And I'm just hoping that Madam V is one of those people that people will remember.
I'm deliberately going to be looking out for Madam V now because I've had this encounter with you. But how different would you say this remake is from the original? We've seen the other remakes. You've talked about Rattlesnake and we've had Neka the Pretty Serpent.
Yes.
We've had Living in Bondage. And, you know, the remakes have...
Glamour Girls.
Glamour Girls, exactly. Of course, my favorite... Okay, I don't say my favorite. I'll tell you off camera. My favorite so far. Hopefully, Domitila would be my new favorite. But there have been slight differences here. If you were to compare this remake to the original story, how much of a difference would you say it is?
Well, storyline-wise, very different. But message, the same. Ashawo no be work. Baseline. Message is Ashawo, you know, for any young ladies out there, and even gentlemen these days, because a lot of male Ashawos too, listening, Ashawo no be work, can't help you, can't help your life. So the message is very strong. The way I would say is similar to the old movies, the fact that it's the legend himself that directed this as well. Uncle Zeb, the originator of the story, director, is still the director. So he wanted it to be very gritty. He didn't want it to be all about glamour, and he didn't want to glamorize it
at all.
You know, in any way. You know, he didn't want people out there to think that maybe if I do this work, you know, somehow the thing will pay me. You know, so he kept it as gritty as possible and kept the story as real as possible. And I don't want to give away too much, but it's a real story.
Let's talk about the underlying message, of course, being that prostitution shouldn't be a source of income or should not be a job, right? What we then see is in today's generation, the Western world have actually started to carve out job opportunities in that regard. There are people who are in support of it. In Africa, it's still frowned upon, even though that doesn't reduce the regularity with which people resort to it. But do you think that the time would come where it will become a normal thing or a normal phenomenon, and that maybe Africa would warm up to it? And how much sensitization have we done for the girl child? I mean, it's International Women's Month. So how much sensitization have we done and are we doing for the girl child?
Okay, two parts to that question.
Yes.
Do I think it will become like a normal thing eventually? I think it has already become a normal thing, unfortunately. It's just that in Africa, we still try to hide. We're not as liberal as most westernized countries that, you know, for instance, if you're a stripper, because they will tell you there's a different, in America, they'll say, look, I'm a pole dancer, I'm not a prostitute. In Nigeria, if you enter a club, you see one girl naked for pole, automatically, she be a shower. Because you can't imagine someone just, you know, being so uninhibited and being naked and allowing men to touch the, you know, different areas without actually moving forward. If the man wanted to go a step further. So I think it's already a normal thing, unfortunately, and it has been a normal thing for many years. But only say we still try to hide them. We still have that kind of upbringing in our homes where you're told that, look, in order to be a responsible person, you must not do like this, you must not do like that, especially the ladies. As far as sensitizing girls, I think we really, really need to start raising. It's not just about the women, it's about the men as well.
I was going to say that.
It's about
it seems that there's a lot of focus on the girl.
Yes.
And they forget that it's a man that patronizes a woman.
Exactly.
And pays her.
Exactly.
And then the people call her a prostitute.
Exactly. So it's not just about the women. The way we raise our boys is very important. We raise our girls in a certain way. We raise our boys in a certain way. We have to stop doing that nonsense.
Right.
We have to. For instance, I don't know how much time we have. For instance, if your son is 16 and he doesn't have a girlfriend yet, you might start worrying. Why is he not just a woman? I hope he's not, You know?
Yes.
But if a girl is 16, you're saying, don't go near a man, don't touch him, don't let anybody touch you. Don't, you know, so why are we giving them different...
I mean, there's so many layers to this conversation. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. I would love for us to
you don't
dig
have
in deeper,
much time.
But, what are we to expect with the movie as quickly as possible? When are we expecting to see it in the cinemas?
Okay, premieres on the 7th of April. What you're going to expect is amazing performances. That's the first thing. Great directing, great story. A lot of work has gone into it. We've tried to cross our T's and dot our I's, and it's just a good story with a great message. I know you don't have much time, but also a lot of great new faces.
Okay.
That's another great
I'm excited
thing.
about that.
Yes.
I'm really excited about seeing
great new faces. The 4 leads, the girls, they're all new.
Okay.
Which is
fingers crossed.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Osalge, I know you've been a part of this conversation, and even though you haven't, you've been behind the scenes, I'm sure that you have a few thoughts as well as we wrap up the show.